Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This biggest show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Kung Fu Season 3, Episode 9. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So picking up in the aftermath of last episode, there are ads being run by Anthony that are an attack on not only Jin, but the entire Shin family, specifically on Nikki, and kind of painting her in a picture, a bad light, which is the worst timing for this to happen, because if this was any other time pre-last episode, Nikki wouldn't let it get to her, but because she blames herself for what she did to Bo, regardless of it all. And I can understand, too, because from her perspective, it's like, no matter what anyone's ever done for her, yes, she wanted revenge, but what she did to Bo, she didn't even do to Jilan, who actually killed her from Shifu. You know, so it's like, right, she never went that hard into pain against Jilan, or even Russell Tan. So it is this thing of like, I lost control in this moment. Understandably, like, this was a circumstance where you were betrayed by someone you got close to. You opened up to your heart to someone after everything with you and Henry, and that the first person you open up your heart to ends up betraying you like this, hurting you in every fashionable way, betraying your trust, and also taking your Shifu away from you, like having just gotten her back to. So yes, it's understandable for her to lose the control, but for Nikki, she's always been in control for a while. I think it also for Nikki, it probably feels almost like she's undone all the work she's done over those 3 years to kind of find some balance again, to find some kind of control like she did when she was in at the monastery. And now it's like, especially because she's being painted as a villain and it's kind of getting her family dragged into it, which Jin's not. Jin's thought was, I'm going to just back out of the race. I won't allow my family to get drawn into this. But Mei Li's like, no, you focus on the campaign. I will focus on protecting the family. Like, this is just further proof that this city needs a leader like you. Someone who wouldn't suit this low. Because it's like, yes, they have dirt they could throw against Anthony, but they're not going to. But, you know, I do love when Mei Li confronts Anthony. He's like, okay, you want to drag the family into this? Bet. I got you, fam. Here's your mom. It's like, he's like, Mama, she's like, I can't believe you're doing this to our longtime friends. And he's trying to explain himself. It's like, yeah, who's going to shut you down faster than your mom? You know, you can't say no to mom. But then Anthony ends up explaining himself. It still doesn't make it okay, but it is understandable. Like, once again, everything he was doing was for the sake of his brother, because it turns out all of this is big moves by Delta security endeavors. And they've blackmailed Anthony. Of course, they're the ones behind all this, and they want to target. They're targeting him. They got Ordinance 11 passed through. It's been a week of that. This all ties into a patient that Ryan knows. It's a kid named Damien who Nikki helped put on a right path. I'm trying to remember if he's someone we've seen in this show. Probably haven't. I just don't remember. But Delta security's there watching over it. It is kind of interesting, like, right, this, normally police would just be there to stay by a subject, but it's like you're handing them off to a private security company. I was like, that seems weird, but there's a lot of, like, that Ordinance 11 gave them a lot of leeway, and there's a lot of money being pumped into them. A lot of it's going towards, like, these rehab facilities that you're making. I'm like, private security firm having their own, like, quote-unquote rehab facility. You're like, yeah, that doesn't seem shady or weird. But yeah, this isn't even about Jin's campaign. It was always about Nikki. It was like, well, of course it is, because, I mean, it makes sense because, well, and they explain it later on. In fact, the CEO explains it directly to Nikki that she's a hindrance, because it's like, right, how could we step in to save San Francisco when it's got its own hero? But for Nikki, it's like, I'm mainly like, patrol my community, mainly. But yeah, I mean, obviously she helps out other people in the area. It's like, it's not like I'm well known. Like, she's like, not everyone in this, like everyone in this town knows me as this hero. It's like, yeah, but she has been gaining a little bit more popularity and such. So people are going to come to her for help because she's done a lot of good. I mean, that also sucks too when you villainize her. Like, Nikki's literally saved the world basically twice. And no one will ever know she did it. I mean, but she doesn't do it as thanks. She does it to help people because that's what she has the power to do it. So she wants to do that, you know? And it's just sad she's getting vilified for it once again at a time when she doesn't believe in herself. She was actually initially going to back away from the whole chasing down Zhao and dealing with all of this. Well, she was backing away and leaving everything in Henry's hands because she feels like she's not the right person for the job right now because she's so mixed up right now. And then this Damien stuff came. But once again, I just those beautiful moments when the whole team has to work together. So while Althea is helping Evan through like the hacking and stuff like that, Dennis having to play distraction, and then him singing "Happy Birthday" to Riley, that random person at their place, and also having to like keep it going in a sense, just to distract so that the security camera is blocked. I thought that was pretty dope. They do manage to sneak into Delta security endeavors because the info they need to clear Damien is there, so they need some kind of it's at their main headquarters. So they end up breaking in there and finds what they've done. Basically, they've buried evidence they've been following Damien for a while. They saw him as the perfect candidate of someone that has like a criminal history that they could easily frame from it. All they had to do was orchestrate things in a perfect way, lay the groundwork. Like he was being arrested for armed robbery. In fact, they used him as a perfect candidate of like, the perfect crime came up. He was in the relative area. All we have to do is bury this evidence that proves that he was like at the basketball court by himself at the time. So he had, sadly he had no alibi because of that. But it's like, yeah, they buried that specifically. Nikki was able to get that to Evan, who was able to get it to Nadia. So everything's working out on Damien's front. But the problem is Nikki was so intent on saving so many other people. Like, even if she had gotten out of there in time, it probably wouldn't have worked out regardless. It still would have been pretty bad. Because I don't even think Althea would have been able to do anything. I mean, well, for one, like, even if she wasn't in a situation where she's not allowed to touch tech, even if she tried to get Evan to do it, like, obviously he's not as fast as she is, and you would probably need to do that fast, but you'd probably need a more direct access point to try and delete that footage, and there just wasn't enough time with everything popping off because Delta found them. I mean, we see how their security system works because when Nikki stopped the door from closing and she went into that computer room, the security room or whatever, the door, like, there was a screen that had a countdown on it. So I think those doors are, like, set to go off if you leave them open for too long. Like, it's kind of like, there's some... I think it's just a small little detail, but I was like, I wonder do a lot of places have security, something like that. Like, where it's just like, this door's been open for a long period of time. Like, that's kind of suspicious. Like, let's set off alarms so that people know to make sure this door is closed, make sure no one's snuck in here or something. Part of me wonders, would Nikki have stuck around as long as she did if she wasn't kind of dealing with what she's dealing with right now? Because she has to, I think... in her own mind, she had to kind of go like, no, I mean, for one, she wants to help people. Like, this is a grand, giant levels conspiracy used to, like, go after people. But there's a part of me that wonders if she wasn't feeling guilty about, like wanting to kind of prove it more so to herself that she's not the monster that people kind of paint her as, that the ads have been painting her as, that she feels like right now, then maybe she would have taken that time to leave. Once again, they already have her own... to be fair, that was before she beat up employees. Yeah, she snuck in there, but she hit her face, so she probably got out when she needed to and was supposed to. None of this would have happened. But like I said, I think that's something she's going to have to deal with too, because I do believe if it wasn't for these current situations, it's like, right, we would have found another way without, exposing herself like this. But like I said, I think she felt like she had something to prove. It's like, right, we have all this access to all this information now, let's take an opportunity to, but it's like, she should have probably thought that through. But my point about what Althea being able to kind of erase the footage and stuff like that, I don't think that, once again, she probably would be able to, but she would probably need direct access to be able to do that. So, but the complicated thing too is one of the names on that list, I was like, is it going to be people she knows? At least one person on that list was someone that she knows, and that's Sebastian, which also makes sense because we know Sebastian's history. Like, he did already, like, go to jail and everything, so it puts him in that position of, this is the perfect person for Delta security endeavors to go after. And that scared me from him because I'm like, is that why Ryan can't get in contact with him? Like, has this already kind of gone down? But later on we find out that's not the case. Like, Seb just still needed time to kind of figure things out for himself. So, but Nikki beat up some guards on her way out, and there was one particular guard she hesitated just because she couldn't help but think about Bo, which Henry does say that Bo did regain consciousness, but it doesn't matter for Nikki. It's like, I still did what I did to him regardless of the circumstances. So she ended up getting knocked down. The CEO comes to talk to her about, like, right, his grand plan is basically, hey, let's bring Minority Report to life. It's like, we're going to arrest you before you actually commit a crime. Predictive algorithm that will say, like, hey, you're more likely to commit a crime, which is very, very profiling. I mean, obviously, we've seen how far you're willing to go. Just, it's like, yeah, but, and Nikki's like, right, don't put it on me like you're trying to really, this is about safety and numbers and stuff like that. It's about safety. It's about numbers. And I cut through your numbers. I'm an issue because I get to people, before the police gets involved. But his point is, what if you say you get there before police get involved? Kudos to you. Well, how about we get there before crime even happens? But it's like, yeah, like, you can't fully predict a human. Like, that's the thing about Nikki. Nikki's had affected a lot of people. I mean, yeah, there's obviously, we've seen that there are bad guys who still hate Nikki, but there's also people she's changed and put them on a better path, made them better people. There's plenty of people who can testify for that, and I think that will be probably an important thing for Nikki going forward, during her hearing and stuff like that. I still don't, sadly, that's not going to go her way, because, because there's evidence of what she did. She beat up security guards, and you add in the fact is that it's all caught on camera, like, and she's breaking and entering, and this whole vigilante thing, like, all those ads are going to be used against her in this moment. What she did to Bo, that DSE, Delta Security Endeavors, is going to dig that up. Also, once again, I still don't trust Kim Rhodes' character in it. Like, the fact is that Seb file came up, and, lo and behold, like, DSE just happens at, like, I still feel like she has to work with them in some shape or form. Maybe she just is a bottom line person, but I just feel like she's got to be with DSE. I've been feeling like that for a while, that she's connected to this, like, private security firm. And in fact, I don't know, like, this, I mean, once again, he has a criminal record, so of course they, like, take notice of him, but part of me feels like it's just interesting timing, considering, like, this is after Kim Rhodes' character had already found out about Seb's criminal record and kind of, like, forced Mei Li's hand, in that regard of, like, firing Seb, or they kind of back out on this deal and stuff like that, so. But yeah, circling back to my point, it's like, right, you just assuming the worst in someone. Like, that is a sad thing, because you do I think that's can also be a little bit of a commentary on, like, statistics of just, like, sadly, people do fall into that statistic of, yeah, if you've been to prison or some kind of trouble, you're more likely to commit that. But it's like, yeah, before you even have a chance to do anything, you're going to get arrested because of this algorithm. It's like, yeah, it's not legal now, but we're not setting this up for, DSE isn't for tomorrow or today. It's for the laws of the future. He's like getting so caught up in your civil liberties. It's like, the law was the law for a reason. Once again, even with the way it's supposed to be fair, it isn't always fair. I mean, look at the fact is, the matter is, a private security company can come in and manipulate evidence to make you good. It's like, he was kind of the perfect candidate. Someone that did something, but not too unsavory. It's like, yeah, he's just kind of like our testing ground for what we're really going to accomplish. Because I don't know if in his eyes, he's like, yeah, it's about the money and the numbers to him and stuff like that, but maybe even in his own twisted way, he really does believe he is doing good. He even compares himself to Nikki, but Nikki's like, we're not the same. So Henry came in to rescue her, but she was like, nah, I got this. Like, I have to take the fall for my like, I can't, like, they've already got me on video. I'm not going to run away. And I'm not going to drag my family in. Like, I'm not just going to be a fugitive, and that's just going to make things worse for my family. I made this choice, so I have to suffer the consequences for it. So you are in charge of looking after the Zhao thing and taking charge when it comes to my family. She's like, I know you can do this. You're the person I trust to do this. So Henry tries to rally the family that, right, we have to do this. We have to keep going. We have to keep fighting. We'll get Nikki out, but we also need to keep going at the Zhao thing, especially with Nikki off the board. Plus, we got to deal with this whole DSE situation as well. which Althea and Dennis have been trying to stay strong and not accept any of his family's gifts. But now it's like, well, we've returned on those gifts, but this time we are going to have to rely on their money because Nikki's going to need a good lawyer. She's going to need a good defense. Because I think maybe if not next episode, maybe a future episode. I think next episode is going to be her hearing, but eventually it's going to be the trial of Nikki Shin. I mean, that's also the thing too. Trials can usually take a very, very long time. So I guess the hearing is probably going to be the main thing we get. I could also see this being a thing where like Nikki's going to end up finding someone while she's locked up. Like she's going to find someone and end up helping them. I mean, Nikki's kind of the best person to have, like if you're locked up in jail or prison or whatever, just because it's like, yeah, like she'll find someone and defend them or something like that. You just know it because that's who Nikki is. But I'm so curious to see. Well, because they were planning on getting, because yeah, it's her hearing, and so it's nothing like that's probably going, well, because it's going to be about bail and stuff like that, plus getting her a lawyer to defend her, so trials take a very long time, but she'll probably be released on bail and stuff like that. Maybe they might try and say like she's too much of a risk considering who she is and how much of a fighter she is. That'll probably happen. Then they'll try to keep her locked up and probably end up denying her bail type of situation. So that way they can kind of, once again, DSE can keep Nikki off the board. So, but at the same time, all this is happening, Seb came back and he wanted to apologize to Ryan for leaving the way he did. Timing is complicated considering now we know his name is on the list for DSE, but for Sebastian, he talked to the family of the man he killed and he apologized to them. They heard him out and kicked him out afterwards, but he's like, right, they don't owe me an apology. I mean, they don't have to accept my apology. You know, they heard me out. That's all I can do. But for him, it's like, it's something I should have done a long time ago. And he hopes that Ryan will take him. But Ryan's like, yeah, I want you here, but you're in too much danger right now, so I need you. But it's like, for Seb, it's like, no, you and your family are going to fight, so I'm going to stay here and fight too, because they become just as much as his family, you know? So. And at the end of the episode, seeing Nikki locked up like that, it kind of, you know, sucks that everything's come to this. And she's kind of pacing back and forth in her cell, and she's trying to calm down. But it seemed like, you know, Henry was kind of happy about it. He felt like she had gotten her spark back. But I don't know if this is going to kind of dull that flame a little bit or not, or whether this is just going to be an opportunity for her to kind of take a step back, you know. But it's also, once again, coming at the worst time because, like, well, she knows what DSE has planned for San Francisco, what they plan to use SF as like the once again continuous testing ground, proof of concept of what they're planning, and they're going to sell it to other like states and places and cities as well, like get it all out all around the country and probably even further beyond that. But also now she's got, you know, obviously the Zhao stuff, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us with all of this, how Nikki deals with all of this, how the family deals with all of this. We'll ultimately have to wait to see how it all plays out. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.